So the next lens is the one that if somebody came to me and said, you can only choose one lens to shoot food with for the rest of your life, what would it be? Well, that lens would be... Hey guys, Julian Lallo here, Melbourne-based photographer, and in this video, I'm gonna run you through everything that's in my camera bag on a food photo shoot. Now, starting off with the obvious one, that is the bag itself, and the bag I use is the newer roller bag. Just as it sounds, it's kind of like a little suitcase, carry-on luggage style, and it does have these little wheels. The reason I opt for a bag like this over a backpack is for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that I carry a camera, a couple of lenses, a large strobe, tripod, sometimes my laptop, and I just don't want to carry all that extra weight on my back. Secondly, it actually fits everything I just mentioned. Like most camera bags, the inside is all adjustable, but this bag itself fits my large strobe, my tripod, and all the lenses inside the bag. So there's nothing attached to the outside of the bag, like with a backpack where you've got to strap a tripod to the side. I really like that about it. The only things that I carry outside of this bag are my reflector and my light stand and umbrella. So moving on to the camera itself, the camera that I shoot with is the Canon R5. Now the Canon R5, yes, 40 megapixels is a little bit of an overkill for probably 90% of the food photography that I do. But a couple of the things that I really do love about shooting on the R5 are, number one, the exposure simulation. So that is, as I change my settings, the LCD or the viewfinder, depending on what I'm shooting through, changes the exposure with the setting changes. So I can see that change in live view and what the image will look like. In addition to that, it also has really great depth perception. So I can really see what the depth of field will look like while I'm setting up my shot. So that's a couple of things that I really love about shooting on the Canon R5. I mean, I also use this camera because I've used Canon systems for all my professional photography since pretty much I started in photography, and this just seemed that after the 5D4, this was kind of the natural progression in terms of system upgrade. Having said all that, what I see as the more important things are the lenses themselves. Now I use two lenses for food photography, the first of which is the 24-70 2.8. I'm using EF lenses, so on the Canon R5, I do have the EF RF adapter. I had all these lenses from when I was shooting on my 6D and 5D respectively, and I've just never upgraded to the RF glass. These seem to still focus really well with the adapter. So the 24-70 is the perfect all-rounder. It's really great when I'm shooting in tighter spaces, when there's not a lot of room in a cafe or restaurant, and particularly if I can't stand on a chair or a small stepladder to shoot my top downs, being able to zoom out a little bit is really beneficial. So the next lens is the one that if somebody came to me and said, you can only choose one lens to shoot food with for the rest of your life, what would it be? Well, that lens would be the 100mm macro 2.8. Now there's a couple of things that I really love about this lens. Aside from the fact that you can get up really close and shoot macro images with it, which comes in handy when I'm shooting things with a lot of detail like sushi and sashimi. But the thing I really love about the 100mm is the fact that it gives no distortion to the images. I just love the compression. I love the way that it straightens up everything in the frame. So to give you an example, often if you are shooting a little bit wider, it can distort things like wine glasses or bottles or taller objects in the frame. For example, if you're focusing on a dish and there's a wine glass, tall stem wine glass in the back of the frame, often that will be on a little bit of an angle when you take the shot. The 100mm, the compression that it gives just seems to straighten everything up a little bit and give you a much nicer perspective. So in terms of the 100mm lens, this is my favorite. This is my go-to whenever I have space. This is definitely my go-to lens. Now, I should mention that all the gear that I am mentioning in this video is linked in the description below, and I have an Amazon storefront set up. So you can check out all the gear I use, and if you do buy anything by using those links, I obviously get a little kickback, so that helps me out too. Now, moving on from camera and lenses, let's talk a little bit about lighting. Now, when I started out in food photography, I did have a really economical setup. I was using a speed light and small umbrella, but I've since upgraded to the Godox AD400 Pro. Now, as you can see, it does have a bit of size and weight to it, but it does, like I said, fit in the one bag that I use to carry all my gear around. So I do really love that about it. It's also got enough power to shoot indoors and outdoors when there is a little bit of sun involvement. If I'm not shooting direct or through a scrim, most of the time I am pairing this with the Godox 120 centimeter umbrella. It is large, it spreads light beautifully, but it is really large. So sometimes it does get in the way when I'm shooting in a restaurant that has people dining in it or in a small style cafe. I probably do need to get myself a second umbrella for these situations, something a little bit smaller, but if I had to only have the one, which I do at the moment, the 120 centimeter umbrella is amazing. It's white on the inside and is used to bounce light. I also have a diffuser that I can put over the top of it to soften that light off. Now that all stands on a Godox light stand. I've gone with Godox for the whole lighting setup, including the trigger right here. The whole setup probably cost me somewhere around $1,400. That is Australian dollars. So it is really economical to get into something that is somewhat of a pro level lighting setup. Onto now something that I do get a lot of questions asked about on Instagram, and that is the tripod that I use. Now I've recently switched tripods to the Freewell Travel Tripod. This is a full carbon fiber tripod. It weighs 900 grams. It is incredibly light. It's also incredibly technical and complicated to get your head around at first, but that is only because it has so many features. You can twist and turn this tripod in so many directions. It does also do top downs if you are shooting a top down that is quite compact. Obviously legs do get in the way if you're shooting a really wide top down, but it also does go top down. Some of the other features I really do like about it is the fact that it's just a simple twist at the bottom to extend and put it back and lock it off. It also has this handle and really smooth ball joint head so that if you are doing video, it tracks really nicely. So this is the tripod that I'm using at the moment. I've been using it now for about 3 or 4 weeks and really love it. Like I said, links down in the description. Now that's pretty much the bulk of all the main gear that I take with me. All the other stuff I take with me are just your little bits and pieces type accessories. So obviously spare batteries, SD cards, I use SanDisk and I carry a heap of them because yes, I have had them fail on shoots before. These little clamps are really good to have with you, holding up backdrops, clipping reflectors, reflector. That is the one thing that I've missed, and the one thing that is really important to have with you on every shoot. I use one of those 5-in-1 reflectors. So that is a round reflector. It's a scrim so that you can soften off direct light through the scrim. Then you can put a cover over it, and it's got your silver, gold, white, and black for bouncing or absorbing light, depending on what your goal is. So reflector, about $50, $60. This is after you've got your camera and lens sorted, one of the first things that you should be buying for your food photography kit. So jumping back into those other bits and piece type accessories, these clamps are really good. You can buy a pack of them for about $20. I also carry a Tether Tools tether cable for the odd occasion that I do tether, and bring my laptop along with me. So that's it. That's all the gear that I take with me on a food photo shoot. Like I said earlier in the video, you can check out all this gear in the Amazon storefront link down below. If you're interested in me making one of these videos on all the gear that I use, so that's everything that I take on my fashion and travel photography photo shoots as well. So that would include things like drones and other focal length lenses and other camera bodies as well. Let me know down in the comments. But with all that said, help me out with a like and subscribe, and thank you for pressing play.